Yes, go for it.
If I may. This number 90% has me puzzled.
Please come on.
Can you explain how that comes and from whence it came?
Actually, we don't use the number 90%. It's been used to describe what we're doing, but that's not how we see it.
It's been abused.
So it's not a number that that I guess if you look at strictly at the trees per acre, mathematically you can work it out that way. If you have 100 trees and you want to take it down to 10 trees, then you're at 90%, right? I mean, it's percent. But that's not our intention, and that's not what we're doing across the landscape.
Would
What?
Follow up. Are you, if this project goes forward, would you be amenable to have a committee of residents of the county to help you in your planning?
Yes, absolutely. At this point in time, we're developing the proposal, so we don't have a proposal at this point in time. We do have what we call an analysis area, the 50,000 acres that Madam Commissioner was talking about. So within that 50,000 acres, that's where we're looking at where and how we're going to do our treatments relative to all of our values at risk. And we can't do that by ourselves as one agency. We need help from the public. We need help from our coalition. So yeah, and part of that is yes, we want to go above and beyond what's required under NEPA to get that public participation to help us through that process.
Thank you.
If I could add just one experience we've had in the Santa Fe watershed over 15 years ago now, that required a monitoring to be formed. And so we have experience with a technical advisory group that came out of that decision. We're seeing that as a possibility here to be able to put that together.
That's great to hear.
Thank you. And in my previous career as a mediator in environmental issues, I really support the use of people who know the land, and that's pure gold. So to take advantage of the people who are here who support it.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
I'd just like to bring up a couple things. First of all, thank you everybody who spoke. Thank you for coming to your public chamber. Appreciate everybody coming forward. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Steve, I've known Steve for a long time. That actually, we went to high school together. He's worked for the forest department all his life. If there's somebody that knows the forest better than anybody possibly, it's this guy here, because he's there every single day. Thank you for what you two gentlemen do, and everybody else with the staff. May of 2000. Who knows what happened in May of 2000? Somebody gets a prize.
Sarah Grande.
May of 2000 is when I remember driving up a 599, parking out there with some people and watching that fire start in the sunset of May of 2000. I'm going down the road as into where I know the fire service did start. I'm just going down as into how that started and seeing that entire mountain burn over a period of time. Thinning out forest, thinning out the forestry. I have a friend that actually had about a 1,600 acre ranch near the Colorado-New Mexico border. They just unfortunately, or fortunately for them, sold it about 2 months ago. It was actually off of the Los Pinos River. Beautiful piece of property. When you went into that property was actually exchanged with the forest department to their grandfather in order to do trapping for the forest and in order to do thinning out of the forest for that entire area. That's how the gentleman got that piece of property. And the reason why they actually thinned his property and he thinned the surrounding forest is for the habitat to come out, whether it's elk, deer, whatever, livestock, or if that way the forest can actually grow. And as to thinning out the forest, I know a lot of people have come here and talked about the watershed and the watershed where it's at, but I don't know if anybody has actually gone into the Peckles Wilderness where you can't even walk through the trees because it's so dense. And so my position on thinning out the forest is, yes, I believe the forests need to be thinned out. And yes, I also believe that we need to actually look at the environmental concerns that what burning or prescribed burns of the forest actually do. So I think, and as the gentleman here mentioned, and it seems like everybody in the audience is for the resolution as the way it's written, I'm good with the county, my vote, the county commission moving forward for this resolution to move forward. This resolution will then move forward to DC, to the administration. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it can be then distributed to far and wide to anybody on the commission or the staff wants to send it to. It's a public document and we can send it anywhere.
Right, so I just wanted to say those words, but thank you everybody once again.
So I just wanted to make a comment about some of the information that came out on April 3rd, and one of them, just because it really wasn't all as one-sided. One of them was the information on what they called activity fuels. That was a new one on me. I mean, everything has a name, right? So it is a concern that to thin trees and then leave piles of deadfall, because that's still burnable and it creates other problems. So that is certainly something, and the scientist who was talking about said yes, they found that is a serious problem, right? So that's a piece of information that, we expect that you guys are going to bring forward in your evaluation, right? But then Craig Allen, PhD, who's well known in this area for his forestry expertise, made a point of coming up to me and saying, part of the thinning issue of this thinning is that it's really needed to preserve old growth trees because they're outcompeted by the dense stand of trees. So there was information presented on both sides, and I'm assuming all of that is taken into consideration. So, is there more discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson?
So, a part of my concern in this is that we live under a administration, the 45th president of this United States, who I don't really care to say his name, has basically directed the Department of Agriculture to take as much board feed out of the forest as possible. I mean, literally. And so that is one of my concerns, and that is why I think Commissioner Hamilton and I worked so hard on this resolution. And it does say in here, at least it says, that if warranted by the findings of an EA, a full EIS will be done. So, there is at least the mention of that, since I don't see that the commission is interested in putting in back the wording that was in the other resolution. But I want you all to remember the administration that we're living under and the direction that you get from the federal government. And I know, because I've been at NACO and I've heard, NACO, for those of you who don't know, is the National Association of Counties, and it is to go out and clear the forest. I completely agree with what Commissioner Hamilton said about preserving old growth. I agree with that. We need old growth to be there. We need to thin the forest. There is no doubt about that. But we also need to do it responsibly, and we need to be as responsible and respectful of wildlife and human health. And that's why a lot of the language in here talks about public engagement. I appreciate that Sandy and Steve have hired Hannah to do public outreach. Let's see if that really is going to be true, if people feel like they can call Hannah and express their concerns, and have an open mind, and that they will think outside of the box. You know, that is part of what it means to be up here, is to have leadership and talk about, you know, thinking in different ways about how you can preserve and protect our forest, at the same time protecting our watershed, our community. I mean, protecting our watershed is one of the most important things that we can do. It is incredibly serious, and I believe that we have done a good job in the thinning of the forest. It's a little naked. You know, I don't think that that level of thinning needs to be done in this project everywhere, but I think you need to think about how each section of this area, because this is not one size fits all. This is a large project in two different areas that need to have some special treatment in each area, and I think that that is where people want to have input and have concern. I also, I'm grateful that the Forester Guild was here. They were my first client when I started as a graphic designer in 1990, you know, so I have a long history with the forest and recognizing the give and the take. So, you know, we are bringing this resolution forward. Please don't disappoint us. I'm talking to you and Sandy and Steve. That, you know, and Hannah, you know, be open to what Sam Hitt has to say, even though you might disagree with it. You might not agree with Sarah Hayden, but be open to it and try and hear what she has to say, you know, because it's extremely important to her and to Sam and to everyone who has showed up, and the not thousands of letters, but numerous letters that I would say hundreds of letters that I have received, that, you know, people are afraid because they know what the direction of the 45th president of the United States is, and that is to burn the forest and get rid of it as much as possible, because that is the directive. Even I heard in Washington, how many board feet can you get out of the forest? Yeah, and so, you know, Santa Fe is a unique place. I appreciate and recognize that you have brought Hannah on as somebody who people can talk to. I encourage all the environmentalists here and all the people who really care about the forest to reach out to her and not to shake your head and say, oh, they'll never listen to me, but to actually make that commitment to try and work with each other. And you're never going to win. I don't win up here every time. I lose sometimes. I win sometimes. That's the way it is. That's the way life is. You know, so I am asking you to please be respectful of each other and work hard to make this process, and come back and report to us and let us know what is going on with the forest and how you are working with the community, what's happening with the public outreach. You know, those are things we want to know. And, so thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia?
I'd like to make a motion. Would you like to make a motion?
Please, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to pass Resolution 2019, which is a resolution urging the United States Forest Service to conduct a comprehensive environmental analysis in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act prior to commencing the Santa Fe Mountain Landscape Resiliency Project.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Commissioner Moreno?
Very short. I prefer the NEPA analysis, the full one.
That's what we're doing.
Good, thank you.
So there is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you for your time, and thank everybody who came for their inputs, and look forward to long interactions on this. Thank you very much.
Chair Hamilton?
Yes.
For the